Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Imperfect Momming, and we have a very special guest today. She's an ordeal. She's a Laura Ordile. Welcome to Imperfect Momming.
Thank you. Yes, I love that I finally married into the name that I've lived up to all my life. So worked out.
I feel like it does. It usually does, right? So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Who I am. Well, I'm actually a mom and a grandma, and I have all my lovely little puppy pets too. I have 3 dogs and 2 cats and 3 grandchildren and 2 kids and a husband and all the fun stuff. And I am a
Partridge in a pear
mindset
tree.
man. And yes, I don't know. The cat might go for that. I'd probably keep that one away a little bit. But I am a mindset mentor and master hypnotist, among other things. I'm also a professional intuitive and astrologer. So I kind of go down a couple different roads and I love them all. And I help people move through change quickly, easily, and completely. And hopefully in a way that kind of helps them hold on to their sanity and their soul as they go, because change can kind of be difficult. And it does feel like you're going to lose your mind sometimes, or you're just stopping and starting and stopping and starting and not getting where you want to go. And so I try to make that a little bit easier for people. That's me.
Well, I love all that. And what stood out in my mind is like when I have a new routine, when something is added to my plate or even taken off my plate, it's like there's an adjustment time period of adjusting to the change. And a lot of people don't like change. Is that something you want to speak to?
Oh, absolutely. And there's a real good reason for that. That's our subconscious mind. And I love talking about subconscious mind because it's kind of, it runs everything. It's the hard drive in our life. And when we're very young, sometime even before we're born, till about we're 7 years old, we have the foundation put in place for that subconscious mind. All of the coding is kind of put in, and we run on that for the duration of our life. Stuff's always added in and taken care of, but that's the foundation until we go in and change some of it. So if you're trying to change something, your mind is saying, no, that's not the right coding. That's not what I have. We're not going to go that way. You can also think of it as a little bit of I also refer to it as the bus driver. The bus driver knows the way that it's going to go, and it doesn't want to all of a sudden take a left. Even though you want to make the change, it's like, no, I have my route. We're going to go this way. Until you go and kind of change the GPS directions and say, let's go ahead and make that change. Let's add something new directions for the way that we want to go. Because our subconscious mind is always trying to keep us safe. And so even though when we think that we're making a change for the better, so you're trying to change your nutrition, lose the weight, gain the weight, whatever it is that you need to be doing for you, and that's a good thing, your mind still goes, no, we don't like change because we don't know what's going to happen. We haven't had that discussion. Here's what we're used to doing. And so it's going to keep going in that same path. And that's where often people get stuck and they're not even aware why they're getting stuck or what the fear is that's coming up for the change process. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think it's because there's sayings about it, like the devil you know, right?
Yeah.
Like even if it's like you're in a terrible situation And you know that this terrible situation, like if you leave it, that things will be better. Like there's still the unknown, and this familiar pain is better than whatever the unknown is.
Oh, absolutely. I experienced that in one of the worst ways, actually. I was in an abusive relationship, and I was getting, I was doing all the things and kind of in the process of leaving. Literally, I remember going through some stuff, and it's like you're going through your whole life, and the fear and the panic came on. And I just halted everything. Everything halted. It was like, nope, I can't do it because I don't know what's going to happen out there. I don't know that I can survive. I have my two children. I don't understand what I would do on my own. All of the lovely things about going out, living as a bag lady, losing everything, all of that fun stuff that comes into play. And that's part of our imagination, that we have for a good reason. But that imagination can also be used to head in the other direction. You can absolutely go in and acknowledge those things. Okay, it might go hard. It might be difficult. I might not know what the next step is. I might not know. But I know in myself, I'm not going to let everything totally fall apart, because there will be a next step. It might not be one I like. It might be uncomfortable, but it's a step I can take. And from there, I'll keep going and keep going and keep going. And so when we can engage our imagination a little bit and bring that back in and go, okay, I get it. We all have that version of ourselves that takes us to, I call it Clyde. Hey, Clyde, go sit, go sit in the corner, have a beer and a burger. And I understand you're trying to help me, but I have to figure things out differently. And then you go down that imagination of what's possible, what can happen, what can I do? And you start moving in that direction. And it doesn't have to be in a dire strait like that, where you're trying to leave a horrible situation, but it can happen. And then people don't understand, why would they stay? Why would you stay in a difficult situation? And it's because of that fear factor that comes. And sometimes it's irrational fears. I have what I call pool sharks and fears, because when I was little, I had a fear of sharks in the pool. I grew up in the Jaws era, and so any water was extremely scary, and it didn't matter that there was not going to be a shark in the pool. I felt the panic. I felt the fear. I felt it as if there was really something there that could hurt me. And that's our subconscious mind. That's the protection mode that it goes in, to the point that we physically react. There may be times when you're not realizing that the IBS, the chronic headaches, the chronic fatigue, the anxiety, panic, fear, the sleepless nights. A lot of those can be from something that your subconscious is reacting to and trying to keep you safe, but not in the best way.
Yeah.
And there's ways to clear that.
Yeah, the several things came up for me. And one of the things that I do when it comes to fear is like, what's the worst case scenario? Like, what's the worst that I could imagine happening if I do this? And when you acknowledge what the worst is, you can also ask, like, how likely is it? How permanent is it? Like, you can ask some questions and really challenge the fear. Because like in your situation, let's say that you did have to be a bag lady, or probably more accurately live in a shelter for a little while. Like, how bad is it? And is it, how temporary is it? Or how permanent is it? And so on. And really, like, versus where are you now, and how uh, dangerous is your current situation, and what's the worst that could happen here, and so on, and use that as a catalyst for changing and talking to the fear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is a process of doing that. It is a process of really questioning along the way. Okay, if that happened, I wouldn't feel good about it, but what could I do about it? What's possible there? What if, what if, what if? And as you ask your mind, what if, it's going to go look for the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And it might come back with something a little more interesting than you expected, a little
Mm-hmm.
bit better than you
Yeah.
expected. So,
Now, where
ab-
I struggle is like even recognizing some of the thoughts. So do you have any advice for or any thoughts or for stuff like that?
well, it's again, it's understanding a little bit of knowing that there's things going on in your subconscious mind. Again, it's on autopilot. It's running everything in our life. So when you start to see something, start with the intent to recognize it, first of all. I'd like to see the things that are holding me back. I'd like to kind of be aware of what I need to know. And when you put that out there, again, you're going to get the answer, because you're asking, because you want the awareness. And when your mind says, "Ooh, oh, that gives me an opening," okay, they're asking for an awareness, right? And then once you have an awareness, it never goes away. Obviously, that awareness comes in and it opens the door to more and more awareness. When you do that, though, I was struggling with money, excuse me, at one point, and I'm like, okay. And so I was going through my day, and at that point, I was working in corporate. I drove all day. I was doing things, and I'm like, I really need to know what some of my thoughts are, what some of the blocks are, what's going on that I'm not seeing. And so I all of a sudden one day I was driving, and I looked over and I saw like a little sports car, and someone in it, and I was just like, I kind of made a little, snorty noise, and it was just like, oh my goodness, that's ridiculous. That's whatever, and kind of had a negative reaction to it. And in that moment, I became aware, what is happening? Why do you have a negative reaction to someone enjoying the life that they want, spending the money in the way that they want? Because they can. How beautiful is that? How amazing is that? And it really made me aware, and I was able to shift at that point. Did it still happen every now and then? Yes, but I caught it in the moment and went, nope, that's wonderful that they get to do that. That's exciting. That's an adventure. And one of the key things that I really came into an awareness about with things like that, with anything that you're hoping for, wanting in your life, is that when you have a desire, say you want a wonderful relationship or you want money, it's either, a lot, that's pretty common for most people, either or. I want financial abundance. I want a wonderful relationship. And then all of a sudden you're seeing all around you all of those things happening. Oh my gosh, how come my friend has this wonderful person in their life? How come they get that and I don't? Or you see one of your friends really succeeding financially, and it's like, oh, and you have that moment of jealousy or envy or whatever it is. It's like, why them and not me? And I found through another kind of epiphany moment that what's happening there is that you have asked for that. You've opened the door to that. You said, I want this in my life. And the universe is showing it to you and saying, absolutely. It's absolutely available. Look at how close it is to you right now. I'm showing you. So hang on, hang in there, because it's on its way. Don't let go of that. Keep that in your mind. And it's showing you proof that it's absolutely possible. And it's right next to you. So it's in your realm, in your energy. You're very aware of it. Take that as a beautiful sign that it's even closer to you now. And I love that. I love that that happened.
I love that too. And when I was going through my first divorce and I was nowhere near like personal development in any way, shape, or form, but I remember looking around for relationships that for marriages specifically that were happy. And let me tell you how hard that is or was at the time to find. And like I had a very specific definition of what a happy marriage was. And I found one couple, but that one couple gave me hope that it exists. And it's just what you're talking about. And like you said, setting the intention. My very first coach, I had a story that my dad didn't love me. And I lived in this reality of my dad didn't love me. And so I was constantly gathering the evidence that he didn't love me. And my coach said, you have a lot of evidence that your dad doesn't love you, but why don't you go look for some evidence that he does? And the files in my head that were unlocked, that my brain was keeping out of my consciousness because it didn't fit my story that my dad didn't love me. And it was a totally different experience and completely healed this relationship that I had with my dad. And I never even had a conversation with my dad about it. It completely healed the relationship that I had with him without a single conversation about it with him, because in his experience, he loved me. So there was no point, there was no like need for me to bring it up. That wasn't his experience at all. He was always showing me that he loved me, and I just couldn't see it for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, and something that we need to understand, again, going kind of with the subconscious a little bit, is that what happens throughout our life too, from the time we're tiny, even as those foundations are being built, there can be things that happen, and this can be even like being born premature
Mm,
can start this, or even before. But there's things that happen throughout our life, all of our life, and oftentimes there's one that can be from when you're tiny, tiny, like 2 years old, and maybe it's just from the parents having an argument or from a comment that gets said that anchors into us. And and there's a little part of our subconscious that kind of comes forward and it says, I'm going to protect you. I've got you. And it's sort of like a little piece of, armor, puts armor on, puts this version of you out there to deal with that quote unquote trauma, that
mm,
difficulty, that moment.
mhm,
And and then you move forward. And then somewhere down the line, maybe you're 10 years old and you get bullied. Another version of you comes forward and it's there and it says, I've got you. And in that moment, another version of yourself is created. So you have what happens though is these little parts of us that our subconscious creates kind of get stuck sometimes. They get stuck in that moment, reliving that moment. So if you think about those little dolls that all fit together,
mm,
the little Russian dolls,
mhm,
that's kind of us. We have all of these little parts of us inside. And sometimes we from the time it happens, something occurs in our life and it stays that way. And I can give an example of that. But also, what can happen is it's okay for a good long time. And then all of a sudden, something happens. And now you have huge anxiety.
mm,
Now you can't sleep. Now you have this phobia of something. Now you have this stuckness where you just can't move forward. And what's happening is there's some version of you in the past that's had enough. And it's like, we're not going to stay back here anymore. We need to be dealt with. If it's like having a puppy, if you've ever had a puppy and that puppy wants attention and you don't give it attention, it goes off and it chews up your shoes and it pees on the carpet and it does all these bad things. Well, that little version of you is in your subconscious mind and can make things happen physically, mentally,
mm,
emotionally, whether you like it or not. So we have to come to a place where we're like, okay, let's go have a conversation, reintegrate or clear those little versions of ourselves so that we can be open and available and move forward full force in a wonderful way in our life. So it's crazy amazing to me that something that happens when we're 2 years old can now come in and prevent us from going to the next level in our business, in our life, in any way, or that it can all of a sudden bring on the worst digestive issues we've had ever. All of a sudden, it's there. But that's what happened because it's in control. It's it's in control of everything. And so if there's a little version of us that's upset or a little teenage version, who if you have a teenager, they could get crazy cranky or a toddler throwing a fit. that's going to come in and cause issues now. And there's ways to clear that.
Yeah.
And that's what I do through hypnosis is I go in and we reintegrate or we clear and we open the door to
Yeah.
what's available for you.
I love that. And I'm curious, the way that you were describing like the little, what are they, the little China dolls that stack on
Little
top of each
Russian
other?
dolls that go
Russian dolls,
together.
thank you.
Nesting dolls. They're called nesting dolls.
Nesting dolls. Would you say that those are like different identities that pop up, that they're stored as like this, if this fighter identity came or was created, and then this other identity is created, like, and then they'll start conflicting it, would you call them identities, or is it something completely different?
No, I think that's definitely a way to put it. And it's kind of all mooshed together in how you want to look at it. But they're versions of yourself. But yes, they're going to be sometimes different ages, different identities, different versions. There might be one
Yeah.
that was created that is, the protector that is going
Right.
to be out there and is going to protect you at all costs. But maybe that's the 16-year-old version of yourself
Yeah.
because that's who they had to be in that moment. And
Hmm.
so they're going to be the one that is like, nope. And they might even be protecting the younger version of you, that is hurt and wounded and all of these. I mean, and you might not even be aware. So here's a little story I want to share with you if that's okay.
Yeah.
Of a gentleman who my mentor, actually my mentor, the person I worked with to really develop a lot of this stuff, she was working with someone who was a gentleman who stuttered all of his life, started all of his life, and he was hoping to get a little bit of help with it, reduce it, so whatever was possible. And so they went through some sessions, and after one of the sessions, he had a memory that he came out with, and he said, wow. He said, I remember all of a sudden he was tiny, like not even 2 years old, barely walking, a little toddler running around. And he was so excited because there was a birthday in the house that day. And so he was running around, he was running into the kitchen to look for a toy. And he tripped and he grabbed onto a tablecloth as he was falling. Well, unfortunately, he pulled off the cake and pulled off, the stuff that was
Oh,
on the table. And of course, mom is like, oh no, oh my gosh, and upset. And the baby is just like, I- and of course he couldn't talk, but he's like, I'm sorry, it was an accident. It was this, and so then they went forward and he asked his mom at one point, did I always stutter? And she said, yeah, from the time you started talking, you've always stuttered. And so he was telling this story to the person after this session, and it took them both about 5-10 minutes to realize he was no longer stuttering. It was gone.
wow.
It was gone.
Yeah.
Just recognizing that, coming into an awareness of it, acknowledging it, and allowing that to be visible in his life or a part of it. And sometimes that happens, and sometimes it comes in where you don't remember anything. There might be something so traumatic, maybe abuse, sexual abuse, something really difficult for you to kind of re I never want you to relive it, but to visualize or to
Yeah.
see. And so your mind knows that, and your mind is going to say, we're going to work on this because you're here to work on this, but you're not going to see all the things that are there. I never ever want to re-traumatize anyone. They don't have to talk to me about things. I don't need to know the stories. I don't need to know anything. Of course, they can share anything with me that they remember, but I don't know that I've ever had anyone that was not aware of um, an abuse of some kind from when they were younger go in and actually visualize anything like that. So I just want to kind of put that out there that
Yeah.
it doesn't bring something to you that's ugly and difficult. So, but it will clear. It will go in and find that version of yourself, have that connection, come to peace with it, and be able to reintegrate or dissolve. And then it's like that block is removed. It's like going in and digging out a sliver that's way down deep in there. And that it's like every time there's pain and there's something and there's another symptom. But when you go in and you dig that sliver out, no more symptom because
Yeah.
there's nothing there to cause it.
I love that. And what makes me think of is that, you know, everything is healable if you try. Like if you, find the right modality, because there's not just one modality that works, but if you find the right person um to support you, or you find the right support in general, that everything is overcomable. And that like
Absolutely.
and I love that. Like it reinforced that belief that I already already had.
Oh, absolutely. I get
Yeah.
so upset when somebody is told, you're just gonna have to deal with that. You're gonna have to learn to live with that. That you're gonna have to find ways to function with that.
Yeah.
It's probably not true. More than likely, it's not true. More than likely, there can be a way out of that, a way to cure it, a way to clear it. And that's one of my things that I want everybody to know whenever I talk to someone, is that you are never too broken to be
Yeah.
fixed. You're
Mhm.
never too broken to heal,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
So that
Love that.
it's kind of like, it gets my blood boiling when it's, oh, you're too broken, or you're too this, or you're not worth the healing process, or none of that is true. None of it.
I love that. Is there a piece of advice that you want to share with moms listening?
I think that is one of the things with moms, as a mom, is that we do often um, think that we just have to live with things, or we have to work our way through things, or it's we have to take care of this first before we can take care of ourselves. So important to go in and take care of yourself, to be in that steady, wonderful, secure foundation to go forward for yourself. When you do that, when you clear all the crap out, it's like, oh my goodness, you can breathe in a way that you just never realized was even possible. So do for yourself. And it doesn't have to be for years and years and years. The work that I do literally takes 6 weeks. I have a 6 to 7 week program that I do, and it's 6 weeks out of your life. That's once a week for, an hour, hour and a half. You are so worth that.
Yeah.
But whatever the road is, all roads lead to Rome. And so whatever the road is that you're going to take for you, take it.
Yeah.
Step into it. Take one tiny step forward into what's going to help you most. Because when you do that, it's amazing how it just spreads out and to everyone around you. And it's such a wonderful adventure for them too.
Yeah. I love that.
That
Yeah. Is there a book that's been instrumental in your personal development journey?
oh I you know what I'm a bookaholic. So there would probably be about 20 20 books. I'm one of my books, I'll tell you what, one of the ones that I love, that's fun, that I think everyone can benefit from too, is To Open Up Your Intuition.
Mm.
And we didn't even kind of get into that or anything, but there's a book by Laura Day called Practical Intuition, and it has exercises in it so that you can kind of work along. And if you do nothing else for yourself, open up your intuition, because when you can follow your intuition, it will guide you to that next step. It will guide you to the people to work with. It will guide you in ways that, again, open up those doors to the awareness in your life that you need. So there's a book.
I love that. And I will check that out. And I just like recently found the library app. That's like
Oh,
any book that I can get on Audible, I'm reserving it. It seems like all the books that I want to listen to are, there's a hold on them. Like other people are listening to them at the moment, but um, like sitting down
Hoopla.
and
Check
reading.
out Hoopla.
Hoopla? Okay.
Hoopla. Hoopla.
All right.
You use your library information for it, but
Yep.
there's no wait time. There's
Nice.
if they have it, you can get it right now.
Nice. I love that. Well, thank you. I'll be checking that out. Um, and I love that you said that you admitted to being a bookaholic, because I think I am too. I had to actually limit myself to only getting Kindle versions of books, Kindle or Audible, because I have a stack of, however many books that I just don't sit down and read. And if I do, I'd like rather it be on a Kindle and save the space, the physical space.
I'll tell you what, if I'm reading a book, it's usually with someone because I have to have that connection to actually really sink into, especially like a nonfiction book. Sometimes I'll read the fiction ones a little easier, but just so you feel a little better. I'm listening to, I think, 2 books through my library app. I'm listening to another one on Hoopla. No, two. No, one on Hoopla. And I just finished and opened up another one on Audible, and we won't talk about my library of yet to read in Audible or listen to in Audible. And then I'm reading a physical book. And then I think I have one open on Kindle too that I was starting. So
Yeah. I was like, I gotta cancel Kindle Unlimited and my Audible because I have the audio or the Libby app now, and it's like just there's really no point. Sadly, there's no point in buying books anymore.
I know I'm a little impatient for some, so because I don't like being like 200th on the wait list when it's a series that I really like, a fiction series or something. I'm like, nope. So I keep Audible, but
Yeah, I can understand that too. Where can our listeners find you?
oh, you can find me all over the place under my name, Laura Ordile. And again, it's LauraOrdile. It looks like Ordile. And that's my website, lauraordile.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And then I do also have a group on Facebook called The Change Gang and a podcast called The Change Gang. So there you go. You can find me in all those places.
Awesome. So, well, thank you for everything that you contributed in the podcast and for everything you're doing out there in the world, because we need lots of healers, because there's lots of healing to be done.
There is. Thank you so much. I appreciated the conversation. I hope it's helpful.
Yes, very enlightening. I like the um, Russian doll thing. So there will be another episode of Imperfect Momming for y'all coming next week. And until we meet again, keep healing. Bye, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AliciaLyons.com. That's ALYSIALYONS.com. See you next time.